Welcome to The Explainer. You know that credit score you're so careful about? Well, what if I told you it's not just one number? Turns out you could have 3 different scores, and that very fact is sparking a huge debate right now. So let's just dive right in. How on earth can one person have 3 completely different credit scores from the major credit bureaus? It seems kind of crazy, right? And what really matters is what this means for your wallet, for getting a loan, and how much that loan is actually going to cost you. Okay, so this whole thing brings us right to the heart of a pretty big fight in the lending world. For ages, the gold standard has been this thing called the tri-merge system. But now there's a new kid on the block, a much simpler single report model, and it's really shaking things up. So what exactly is this current standard, this tri-merge thing? Well, it's pretty much what it sounds like. Lenders pull your data from all 3 of the big guys, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. Then they mash it all together to get this super comprehensive 360-degree view of your financial life.
All right, so let's put these two head to head. You've got the current tri-merge model. Think of it as the full, unabridged encyclopedia of you. Super detailed, but also kind of clunky and expensive to produce. Then you've got the proposed single report model. That's more like the Cliff's Notes version. Way simpler, faster, but you might miss some really important plot points. It really is that classic trade-off. Do you want all the details, or do you want speed and simplicity?
So to figure out just how big of a deal this is, a new study from Andrew Davidson and co. dug into the data. They wanted to see, how different can these scores really be for regular people? And let me tell you, what they found was, wow, pretty surprising. Okay, get this. The study looked at a massive 245 million consumers, and they found that more than a third of them, 35%, had at least one score that was off by 10 points or more. Now, 10 points might not sound like a lot, but in the world of credit, that can be a really big deal.
But wait, it gets even more wild. Nearly 1 in 5 people, that's 18%, had a gap of 20 points or more. Okay, now we're talking about a difference that can absolutely change the game when you're applying for a loan.
And then you have the really extreme cases. A full 7% of people had a score difference of 40 points or more. I mean, can you imagine? You walk in thinking you have a rock-solid 720, but the lender sees a 680. That is a massive drop, and it could cost you serious money. So you might be wondering, who is this happening to? Well, it turns out these score gaps aren't random. Nope. The data shows that certain groups are way more likely to see these big, unpredictable swings. And this chart really lays it all out. If you look at borrowers who are already in that lower score range, say 600 to 639, more than a quarter of them, 26%, had one of these 20-point gaps. That's a significantly higher risk than for folks with middle-of-the-road scores. And this right here, this is where it stops being just numbers on a page and starts becoming a life-changing problem. Think about it. If you're right there on the edge of qualifying for a mortgage, that 20-point drop is everything. It could knock almost a third of borrowers in that 620 to 639 range right below the magic 620 cutoff. That means getting denied for a home loan that by all other accounts they should have gotten.
Okay, so let's talk about the bottom line. Let's talk about money. Because these score differences don't just decide if you get the loan. Oh no, they decide how much you're going to pay for that loan for years and years to come.
So how much are we really talking here? For a standard home loan, just getting bumped down into a different pricing tier because of one wonky score, well, that could cost you an extra $3,000 to $5,000 over the life of the loan. That is not chump change. All right, the stakes are clearly high. So what do we do about it? People are throwing out all sorts of ideas for how to fix credit reporting. But the big question is, are these solutions actually going to work? Or are we just trading one set of problems for another? Okay, so one idea that's getting floated is this hybrid model. The idea is, for people with high scores, just use a simple single report. For everyone else, stick with the full tri-merge. Sounds reasonable, right? Well, not so fast. The study found that even in the 700 score club, 18% of people still had those big 20-point gaps. And you risk creating what's basically a credit lottery. Some people might get lucky and pull a high score, while others don't. And yeah, sure, the flip side is that about 9% of people could see their scores get a nice 20-point boost, but it just adds this whole layer of randomness and luck to a system that should be predictable. So, at the end of the day, what did the study's authors conclude? Well, one of them, Sanjeevan Chatterjee, put it pretty bluntly. He said, "This study shows why knowing more is better." And that's really the key.
When you're trying to manage risk and make sure people can actually afford their loans, having that full, comprehensive picture from the Tri-Merge report, it's just safer and better for everybody involved.
And that really leaves us with one big question to chew on. Our financial lives are complicated, right? They're messy. So, is one single number from one single source ever really enough to tell a person's whole story? It's something to think about.